couples who are married still in heaven, that they grow younger into the flower of their youth. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that in general, that when people die and they are progressing towards heaven and they enter heaven, they grow young again till they're in the flower of their youth. Mm-hmm. But they don't necessarily look exactly like they do on earth. Like because what I find fascinating is that all the things in heaven are a reflection of your inward heart and your loves and how that manifests. But it's still, they have, as you pointed out in the book, and as you can read in Heaven and Hell by Emanuel Swedenborg, they still have houses. They still live in communities. There are gardens. They eat. They do all these things.
It's just perfect, in heaven. I mean, it's in the sense of everything is, beautiful, wonderful, everything, but super variety, the whole thing. But so it's earth. It's not a cloud.
Right. So what do angels do?
Well, it's very interesting. They don't sit around, and I'll just, cut to the chase. They all are very useful to one another. In fact, if we want to say it in a sense, they have jobs. Now, don't think about it in terms of like you're going to end up doing some drag-out work that you don't want to do to make a couple bucks for heaven or something. It's not like that. Usefulness, being useful, whatever that might be, coming from your love, whatever you love to do, like you might love to listen to people. You might love to do a podcast and help people understand different things about life. You might love you might love to play a sport and you love having teamwork and you love people watching and learning and being inspired. Think of all the things that we do here that we love that are good and productive. In some way or another, you're going to be doing that in heaven, and you're going to love it,
Right.
And that's very different. So he calls heaven a kingdom of useful service. Now, there's this cool story, and that is he tells this story in his book Conjugal Love or Married Love, and it just starts out talking about now whether this is some kind of story, mythology, or has a different meaning, or literally true. It's a good story. That there people are in the other world, and these angels ask these people, "What do you think heaven is?" And they all have these different ideas. Some people say, "Oh, heaven is," like a lot of people think, "Oh, it's paradise, just laying around in the gardens or whatever, sniffing the flowers." And some people said it's just rest. I'm resting from all my, like it says all over the Bible. It's you're going to rest at that time. Others, you're going to be reigning with Christ for years and years. Other people were like, we're going to dine with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And you could go on more and more. Praise God and worship Him forever. All these things are kind of mentioned in the Bible, but they're all pretty symbolic, or they're just, talking about one point or something. They were all allowed to go and live. It was like a fantasy. Go live your heavens. I mean, and so all of a sudden, poof, they found themselves in these different heavens that they believed in. So that what happened is that, Swedenborg talks about they, say the people who are sniffing flowers and stuff like that, walking around this beauty and paradise, all of a sudden, they got tired of it.
Right.
I don't want to sniff another flower kind of thing, Rest. I mean, you can sit around and rest for so long. Now, I ask my college students, they go, no, that's heaven to me, resting. But if you were, you can only rest so long, it gets boring. Now, all of these different ways that people looked at what heaven was, even eating and this, I mean, that got tiring. Or the funny one is praising and worshiping God. He talks about they're in there and they're singing and they're hearing sermons and everything. And he says then their eyes start, dotting around like they're looking for an exit. The next thing you know, they run out the door, right?
Right.
They all come back and they say, okay, so what happened? And basically every one of them, it was boring. It was terrible, And then the angels reveal that's because heaven is a kingdom of useful service. And when you are in love and helping somebody from love, that is intrinsically delightful and something that not only lasts, it grows as we become even more useful to people.
And that's something that is so easily applicable to here on Earth.
It is. It works here.
If you're looking for the secret to happiness, it's find something useful that you can do for others.
And that you love.
And then learn to love it too.
Right. Well, that's true.
I mean, here, I am not a perfectly loving angel.
You're not?
No, you might be. But, I can work on loving the things that are useful about life.
Yeah.
And if I really dedicate myself to being useful for other people, I can find satisfaction and delight and joy that grows and lasts and is dynamic. There's variety there. It changes constantly. A teacher who gets a fresh batch of students every year, there is an eternal satisfaction to being able to help people that way.
Absolutely.
Something I like to think about with heaven, with that kingdom of uses or useful service, is if heaven has beautiful gardens, then it has to have gardeners.
Yeah.
So there are people whose job it is to garden.
And they love that.
Right. And then and other people who love to cook for other people, well, they probably love cooking for other people. So I can imagine one angel's job is they get up, they and their spouse, have a nice breakfast that just seemed to have magically appeared at their table. They eat the breakfast, they leave the stuff there, they leave their house, and they go work in the garden.
That's right. Someone else does the dishes. No.
Well, I don't know.
Right,
but other angels come in and they're like, well, what does this couple love to eat? What can we prepare for them as a meal? And they work on preparing a meal all day, and then they go home, and their garden, which they enjoy, but they don't love gardening, is immaculate and beautiful because other angels garden their garden. And then those gardening angels come home, and there is magically, miraculously, this beautiful meal prepared by people who genuinely love them. Like
right, that's an example of everything that happens in that way. Right. So, I mean, it's very interesting to think about that. Heaven, as we talk about, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And that's true in the sense that, we've talked about that the more we love, the more the happier we are. And so imagine, though, in heaven, when we're loving and giving, that love from God is flowing into us, that delight, that joy from God inside of us. But then when we bring it out to other people and all these different acts of usefulness, and they're bringing it out to all of us. So it's like joy is coming from without in the service that we get and from within in the love and service we give to other people.